to it as a waif's trial. The newspapers carry descriptions of Barbara's hairstyle and clothes. On her first day in court, the Cincinnati Enquirer calls her dress fashionably short, but not skinny. It's almost like Barbara is a movie star. From the papers, I learned that Barbara had recently confessed to the police, but recanted her confession a few days later. Why would someone admit to a crime only to get back repeatedly? To find out, I contacted Hamilton Federal Court in Ohio to request the trial transcript. What I received is a document over 1,200 typewritten pages long. From it, I learned that the prosecution's case was mostly built on Barbara's confession, which told the following story. On the morning of May 25th, 1969, Jane told her that she and Barbara's adopted father, Charles, were separating, and it was time for Barbara to go out on her own. An argument ensued. Barbara grabbed a gun from her father's dresser and shot Jane. She then dragged her down 2 flights of stairs to the basement and she beat her to death. She was alive, Barbara explained in her confession. She was going to tell everybody. Val was going to be in a jail. The defense's case on the argument was built on the fact that Barbara later recanted her confession. Barbara maintained her innocence throughout the trial, stating the confession even under false pretenses. According to her lawyers, Barbara was horseback riding in the car. They hoped to find Jane dead at the bottom of the basement stairs. I was thinking that Daddy had done it, Barbara testified on the stand. She feared Charles had killed her, and so she confessed in order to protect him. I was going to do anything that I possibly could to get the guilt off him, Barbara said. Anything. This meant cleaning up the crime scene and disposing of the gun in the Ohio River. It wasn't until later that she learned her father was innocent. During the investigation, police found blood on Barbara's riding boots and gunpowder on her hands. Also, Barbara had no defensible alibi. She was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison for murder in the first degree.
Your voice is okay. We're very froggy around here because the allergies. I'll sound like Demi Moore.
Late one Friday evening, my mother-in-law Becky and I meet up in her den. I've been looking into Barbara's life, and I'll just get in front of it by saying that some of it is shocking.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, in the end, I think generally the things that she told you are true. I begin with the information Becky had asked for. I tell her that Barbara had not played her first act. Though she grew up an orphan, she was adopted by a wealthy family. But then, I tell her the other stuff I learned. In May of 1969, Barbara murdered her adopted mother, Jane.
Really?
Yeah.
I messed up in August of 68.
Becky says that in Copenhagen, she never saw any evidence of violence or temper.
Boy, I never saw that in her. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know what to think of it. What should I think about that? She must have been so much fun.
In fact, the time Barbara and Becky shared Copenhagen came up in the court transcript. Barbara told her asked her about her trip to Denmark and the work she did at the laundromat. Reading it, I half expected my mother-in-law's name to appear, but Barbara didn't say anything. But once Becky's name doesn't make an appearance, another familiar name appears. Someone had spoken to her, Barbara's old college friend, Chris. Chris, when Glenn was recording calls. A week before the trial, Chris is called to the stand for questioning. Were you in the vicinity of 122 Glen Mary in Cincinnati On the morning of May 25th, 1969, I respectfully decline to answer that question, Chris responds, taking the fifth. Did you kill Dr. James Schutt? They ask. Again, Chris takes the fifth. Chris and I spoke for an hour and a half, and at no point did he ever say anything about being questioned as a suspect. What the hell was going on? Was this why Chris had been so cagey with me? Was this connected to the belief that the police never knew? Becky wonders too.
What does Chris have to do with all of this? What did he have to say that he didn't feel he could say because it would be incriminating? Why did he do that? Does he know something that nobody else knows?
I respectfully decline to answer that question, for the answer to that question might incriminate me in this jurisdiction or any other jurisdiction in the United States.
This is Chris, reciting the Fifth Amendment for me now, 52 years later. Not after our first conversation, I was about Chris, I didn't know what to make of it. You know, he told me he now wanted to talk to me. And if that wasn't surprising enough, he also said I should record the conversation. Every day you can achieve more. You're still interested. Hey, Freddie.
Well, I'm glad we finally made contact.
I asked Chris my burning question. Why did you take the stand?
It was to protect Barbara, and it was suggested to me that Bernard Gilday was her attorney. Gilday said they needed another suspect. It didn't have to be somebody who actually did it.
The effect Barbara's lawyers were looking to achieve was exactly the one it had on me. Chris pleading the fifth raised suspicion. With all the evidence against Barbara, Gilday was just hoping to cast a shadow of doubt. So her lawyer, Gilday, was just looking to sort of, to muddy things somehow.
Yeah, they have a suspect.
But why would Chris, Barbara's college friend, implicate himself in a murder trial? It turned out that while they were friends in college, they weren't just friends.
We were engaged. She sat right in front of me in the German class in the summer of '67. And one time I made a joke or something, and she turned around and smiled at me, and that's when I started talking to her. That was the beginning, and it went pretty quickly.
The end came quickly, too. Chris was going away to California for graduate school, and the relationship would be long distance. The enormity of the commitment started getting to them. Just a few months after they were engaged, and well before James' murder, they called it off. But Chris's feelings for Barbara were pure. But some people were fancy when they asked him to testify.
It's just a strange thing with the
It was a desperate, not legally questionable move, but the defense didn't have much. Chris was never taken seriously as a suspect. In fact, the judge ended up telling the jury to disregard his testimony altogether, claiming it had no real bearing on the case. And today, if you ask Chris if he thinks Barbara was guilty, he's unequivocal. This is the part he learned later, that the police never knew.
She had purchased a gun in Richmond, Kentucky, and she went over to some woods, and she practiced with a gun. So she knew she was going to use it because she practiced with it.
I'm unable to verify if Barbara bought the gun, but it is true that when her adopted father Charles took the stand during the trial, he testified that he never owned a gun or kept one in the dresser where Barbara claimed to have found it. After the trial, Barbara was sent to a women's prison in Marysville, Ohio to serve her sentence, and Chris says he visited a few times, but most of their contact was by mail. He kept Barbara's letters and sends me a photo of one. It's written on Chris's Facebook, and most of it is pretty mundane. But what strikes me is how Barbara records the date. Rather than the day, month, year, she said right, Mother's Day. This also tells me that Barbara must have known her birth in Marysville.
She would say that she might have been part of the superintendent. For example, in the field of Ohio State football, and she would have
think you reached out to her after all those years?
Curious. And I still had strong feelings for her.
Talking to Chris on the phone 50 years later, it still feels like Barbara exerts a strange force. Chris tells me about this one day in 1991 when he moved to Columbus, where his family lived. As Chris describes it, they don't have his car starts driving themselves.
At my dwelling. And Barbara had something to do with her Mazda, whatever she had, with a flower on the end of it. And I remember stopping and looking at the house and my daughter knew it was what I said, that's Barbara's car, and this is where she's at. And I remember going, my daughter said, Dad, you need to go down and see her. I said, no, I just want to know that she's okay.
Hearing the story, I can't help but wonder if the real reason Chris changed his mind about speaking with me was simply because he longed for someone who to share Barbara's stories. When I asked Chris, years after Barbara committed the murder, had he ever heard her express remorse, Chris says no. Then, he tells me one more story from Barbara's life after prison.
She was cutting the grass, wet grass, and wet grass sticks to the bottom of where the blade is, and you have to clean it out. So she stopped the engine, but she didn't disconnect the wire to the spark plug, and she moved the blade to get all the grass out, and the motor started. And so 2 of her fingers were cut off. And later, at some point, she said she thought it was punishment for killing her mother. She didn't say it as bluntly as that, but that's what she was saying.
What started this all was the obituary,
Yeah,
and although everything in it was accurate, it sure didn't tell the whole story.
which is what Becky wonders about now, the whole story. Because while the evidence against Barbara is overwhelming, neither Becky nor I are convinced by the motive the prosecution presented. Why would being told to move out cause a 23-year-old college graduate to fly into a murderous rage? But, if Chris is to be believed, Barbara had been planning the murder for months. What was her motivation?